Yeah, he's taken on a lot of fluid there. And of course, it's very difficult when you're in the wheelchair to take on fluid when you're actually in the race, because you're using your arms as opposed to the athletes. Obviously, you can take a quick drink and then throw the cup down. You've got to grab the fluids, take it on quickly, and keep your momentum going with the wheelchair. So obviously, dehydration may be a bigger problem for someone like Kurt and some of the runners. Really,
that's right.
The Archibald Fountain there, front and square, as our elite men come through. 1 hour 37 minutes and nearly 38 ticking over as they move their way back through past the Archibald Fountain, the beautiful scenic vista that is Sydney, just hosting this wonderful event, the Blackmores Sydney Running Festival. And it looks like we might have dropped another one off. We seem to be down to 4, boys, having a look at it.
And I reckon we're going to be
out in front.
I'm predicting that I reckon we'll be down to 3 pretty quickly, just quietly. I reckon that Chaboy might be having a bit of trouble as well off the back in the cap.
Okay, Chaboy is in the cap. We've got Career out the front. We've got Koitale next to him, also in the yellow and the white, and then in the white strip is Ben Canouche from France. So you think Chaboy, the taller, more rangier athlete, just starting to get a bit of a gap now, Modest.
Am I predicting it early or not? I'm going early, but I just sense that he's probably... there's that distance that we call in the marathon, that leash. Once you lose that touch of about 10, 15 metres, it's really difficult to ever close that up. And once they sense that, they may even inject a little bit of pace just to get down to 3. So we'll see. He seems to be back. I just think there's that shoulder rock.
I agree. Out of all of them, he looks as if he's the one that's suffering the most. But you never know, really. Let's give him credit. He's still hanging in there.
Yeah.
He's watching that white line as we run through the Sydney CBD fairly intensely. But you were talking about the runner who is second in from the left-hand side, and the shoulder roll is really some hard work for him at the moment. So we are down to 4, and the most promising there is Koitale, Career in there as well, and also Ben Canouche from France. We're going to be getting to the bridge run, and for the bridge run, that is the 9K affair, and the man who's going to be starting this is Glenn McGrath. 124 tests for Australia, 251 days. He's taken over 900 wickets when you have a look at it for Australia. There he is, the great pigeon man there, Glenn McGrath, getting ready to start it, and then he'll jump down from there. He's got the pink starter's pistol for the McGrath Foundation, and all is in readiness. Here we go. There it is. So Glenn McGrath gets them underway in the Blackmores Sydney Running Festival Bridge Run, just over 9 kilometres. And again, we've got the mass start. So Glenn McGrath will be finding his way back down. One of our greatest ever, and it's his 7th year representing here at the Sydney Running Festival.
And yes, it reps that pink gun. I think the pink lads who raise money for the McGrath Foundation have come 460 kilometres from Narromine this week down to, and they're finishing off that 460 k's with a light jog light jog to finish in the bridge run with Glenn McGrath. So great cause, good on you guys. Tony Abbott, I think last year accompanied that group down, and this year we've got one of the blind athletes being a part of that group as well. So terrific to have, and they're the charity components. I think, as you mentioned, Steve, the biggest number of athletes in this event itself. So
16,000 competitors, and I think for maybe some serious runners that also enjoy the festivities of the whole weekend here in Sydney, this is the perfect one, because they can do 9Ks after maybe a little bit of a lesser preparation, we must say, than the elite runners.
Well, I think you've got a vested interest in this race, actually, Ian, haven't you?
Yes, my bride, Bronwyn, is running in this particular one. She's doing the 9K affair, so I'll just be keeping my eyes out to see how she's tracking. Hopefully she made the start line. That's going to be the most important thing.
That blind athlete's Nathan Johnson. So good on you, Nathan. Yeah. Sure, it's a special day for Nathan. He's done lots of events, but this one's close to his heart, I'm sure.
Well done to Nathan, and hello to all the ladies from around Clifton Hill that are making their way along this particular one. And people come from all points of the compass for this particular event, because they come and they say, let's make it a weekend, let's really enjoy it. We'll travel, we'll jump on a plane or a car or get on the bus or the train and make their way. There's Glenn McGrath there. Have a look at him. That's the sort of run-up we used to see. Push off the side screen, come in, and away he'd go, and he'd have have Shane Warne at the other end. What an iconic figure of Australian cricket.
I think he's off the long run today.
He's certainly pushing off the side screen. He gives a thumbs up. There you go. There's a couple of the boys from Narromine in there as well. So the Blackmores bridge run. Let's have a look at where it comes from. 9K starts at Milson's Point. Will then turn back over the Sydney Harbour Bridge, down through the Corkscrew, Mrs Macquarie's Chair, the Kale Expressway, and finishing at the Conservatorium of Music. So they've got 9 kilometres in front of them, all the runners for the bridge run. So that's all the events now underway. There's a lot of people on the road, 35,000 people competing across this wonderful Sunday morning here in Sydney. So it is underway. The bridge run, we are fully underway. Runners still making their way across the start line as a big part of the Blackmores Sydney Running Festival. What a beautiful, beautiful area is Sydney, and it just continues to turn on the charm, and you can see parts of the harbour there, and the houses and the buildings that are up to 200 years old, which, while it may not be old on the world scale, certainly as far as Australian European settlement goes, these are really the starting points for the footprint into Australia.
Great aerial shot there, isn't it? Just looking down now at the lead group going through. And as Steve has pointed out, the temperatures are now starting to creep up a little bit, which might affect the athletes. But having said that, there's not much really going on between that lead 4, though.
No, and they're through that rocks area, so they've actually gone past. They're between the Opera House and the Sydney Harbour Bridge, so they're heading away again. So they're almost in that finished precinct. We can almost see them if we looked across the water from here. And nice area there, no road, no vehicle, there a footpath they're on, so they wind around a little bit under to get under the bridge.
So what have they got, about half an hour to go now before they come into the finish?
Yes, I think their time, if they're on that 2:13, I think they're just that pacemaker dropping out. Their pace has just dropped a little bit. They're probably in the 2:13s now, but they'll get going here in the last 10K, so they'll pick that up and get back. I'm expecting it to be in that 2:13, 2:14 range.
Well, Canouche, if anything, is doing most of the lead at the moment. The Frenchman taking it to the Africans, which is good news. I love these events where you get 4 or so of these marathon runners together, because you never know what's going on, you never know what's going to go through their minds, and it is fascinating to see who actually makes the move and at what time.
Exactly, and this is where there's still 4 of them there we're probably close to about 10 kilometres to go. So we're in for whilst we might not get the sprint finish in a marathon, 10K is a sprint finish. So we're getting a really good world-class race unfolding here.
Now you can see them just looking at each other, just taking stock of what's going on.
Yes, the Africans look pretty good, I've got to say, but
there's the big hinges of the Sydney Harbour Bridge as they make their way underneath it.
They're not looking up and checking what's happening up there. They're on their work, but they'll know where they are on the course. They'll have done their homework. They'll be understanding exactly which part of the course they're on. They may have run this section because where they're staying is not far from this part of the course, so they may be familiar with this. All that familiarity helps when you get to the crucial stage, when maybe your concentration and your mind's not as alert as it could be.
Well, you just saw there, really, Fortelé just had a quick word with his teammate there, or whatever you call his compatriot. Correa just sort of said, I'm moving on the inside here, just let me through. So there's a bit of conversation going on between the two Kenyans there. And Canouche, I suppose, is the loner amongst that group of 4.
Well, 3 Kenyans and the Frenchman. So the Frenchman boxed in left, right and behind him at the moment, and you would think he's really running in isolation, isn't he? As we make our way back, we've come underneath the Sydney Harbour Bridge and now moving. The Sydney Running Festival had its genesis at the Sydney Olympic Games, and you can see the iconic cauldron there at Sydney Olympic Park, a beautiful scene in the year 2000, and from there we get the blue line that's famously been followed for over a decade now. 13 years we have been running the Blackmores Sydney Running Festival, and it all started back there at Homebush, the scene of the Sydney 2000 Olympic Games. Look at the ferries working up and down the Sydney Harbour. You can see the inlets and coves, and then the beautiful coat hanger. The runners in the elite men have just gone underneath that coat hanger and working their way round towards the rocks. The boating, of course, superb here on Sydney Harbour, and you can see our 4 runners there. It is 3 Kenyans in Koidale, Korea, and also Cheboy. He's the man in the cap.
I may have given you the mistake. I think that might be Lucky Mahali, actually.
Mahali in the cap?
In the cap, okay. I reckon.
All right, so Lucky Mahali, who is the South African, and it is indeed Lucky Mahali, the man in the cap, and in the white strip is our French runner in Al Hassan Ben Kanouche, the 32-year-old from France.
And whilst I called it early, he is still hanging in there, Lucky, but he doesn't look, he looks the worst of the 4. I'm certainly happy to say I think he's going to struggle to have a real impact for much longer at the event.
Have a look at that. The beautiful Sydney Harbour Bridge with the ferry in the background, hardly a wave on it, not windy conditions at all, and thousands of people lucky enough to be running past and over one of the most iconic bridges in the world. The bridge run, and that is the 9K affair. It was started by Glenn McGrath. He's involved as well, and plenty of his mates running from Narromine for the McGrath Foundation, and part of the charity raising that goes on here. So wonderful effort. Here's our second wheelchair competitor coming across the line, and Kurt Fernley was the man who took out the #1 podium position. Our second wheelchair competitor heading across the line. Congratulations to everyone who finishes here, and a marvellous achievement. As we have a look through, it is Nathan Archie, and Nathan Archie is our second wheelchair finisher across the line. Kurt Fernley was the #1 man, and Lee Troop caught up with him.
I'm down here with the winner, Kurt Fernley. Kurt, just another day at the office.
What a beautiful day at the office, mate. It's a cracking run, and this is the first marathon I ever done 13, 14 years ago, and, mate, it's still as fun today.
You've won all over the world. You know, there's Boston, New York, the multiple championship winner. What is it about Sydney that you just love so much that you just keep coming back for it?
Mate, this is home, I guess. This is the closest marathon to home. It's the first marathon that I've ever did. It's the only marathon that I've done in Australia. And, you know, to run with this support that you get the whole way along the way, everyone yelling, "Go, Kurt!" You know, you're racing other people's home grounds, but it's just beautiful, mate. And to share it with the other thousands of people on the course, it's just a cracker.
It is just a cracker, and he is just a cracker as well. Originally born in Cowra, and Paralympic records in the 5,000 in the marathon, Australian records 400 metres, 800 metres, 5,000 metres, 10,000 metres, half marathon and marathon as well. This is the bridge run that's underneath us, underneath the coat hanger, but Kurt Fernley there, just extraordinary. No other athlete can do that. You can't be holding the 400 metre record and the marathon record.
Well, it's a term that's used sort of all the time over here, but he is really a legend, isn't he, in that sort of sphere. Absolutely fantastic performance.
The bridge runners still making their way off, and this is the biggest group. We've got 16,159 competitors in the bridge run. So some of these ones that you can see at the top of the screen are making their way through the Blackmores gantry, which is now centre of screen. They will go up and then sweep around to the right, and you can see them running on the bridge right now.
And another start there, just going out of shot. So they start in waves just to allow a bit of space on the roadway. So thanks to the New South Wales government for allowing us to use the road today and to take the time to allow the participants to have a good experience.
Oh, an outstanding experience, and to be able to run across the top. And you can imagine the trains are still running. You can see the train network there, but no cars obviously on the road. And you'd almost want to just take your time and really savour the beautiful scenery, the picturesque images that you're running past.
Well, I'd take my time. I'm not sure about Monos here. He'll probably be careering ahead of everybody at the front of the race. But yeah, I mean, it's as you said, I think earlier, Ian, you've got to enjoy the festival. It's a race, but having said that, you know, you've just got to enjoy it.
As the runners, this is the elite group, and the runner in number 7 is Al Hassan Ben Kanouche from France. Next to him is Willie Koitele from Kenya, and then we've got a couple on the way back there in Korea and also in Lucky Mahali. Mahali, the man with the hat on, who is currently in 4th position.
It looks terrible, dropping his arms, but he's actually hanging in there.
You've been riding him off.
I'll tell you what,
he's not going to be buying me dinner, is he?
He'll probably win it after what you said about him, all this stuff. But no, he's ungainly. I mean, he's long, he's lanky. You know, he drops his arms, the cap's there, he looks different, but he's still hanging in. Give him credit. You know, I mean, it's nearly 20 minutes, maybe 25 minutes to go before the finish, and you can't be far off after that.
No, once you get probably within 10, 12 minutes, it's almost like you're there.